Hello and welcome once again. In today's video, we are dealing with that very important topic of teenage mental health. And today the question is, does religious involvement promote better mental health? So we'll explore the answer to that question in this video. Whenever we talk about religion, that can be a hot topic for people. So the real question is, what is research showing about religious involvement in terms of teenage mental health? We also want to be looking at the process of it. How does it impact the teenage mental health one way or the other? And we need to look at not just potential positive, but can it potentially create harm for teenage mental health? And then what, if it does, what are the kind of standards to make it effective, or where can it cause harm? We want to look at kind of that process or the key ingredients there. And then how do families develop that balance? How do we make that work for them? We'll be talking about all those things in this video. The simple fact of the matter is people, teens specifically, who are involved in religious communities regularly have lower levels of anxiety and depression. In these religious communities, there are some practices that are very common with a number of religious communities. And that is things like prayer or meditation, mindfulness, and the belief in something kind of outside of yourself as well. You're grounded in certain principles and moral understandings. And all of these factors, all of these things help kind of deflect you internalizing, wearing, bringing on negative thinking, right? Hope is a powerful, powerful influence across many religions. So all of those things are working positively on your mindset to help kind of alleviate or dismiss or help you let go of the negative thinking that is very common in anxiety and depression. And I can talk from my own personal experiences in personal life. Myself and my children, we have been involved in religious communities, brought up in a religious family. We have religious beliefs. The idea of prayer is something we do, something we believe in. The belief in a higher power, somebody who's working behind the scenes to make all things right. Those grounded us and helped us tremendously deal with the loss of my wife and my kid's mother to cancer. It was that faith and that religious aspect that kept us from slipping into depression or anxiety, to be able to move forward. Without that faith, I'm not sure what the outcome would have been for us, except I can speak for myself in that there's a very good chance, I believe, that I would have become depressed after that. And really, that loneliness feeling could have overwhelmed me. And it was my faith, it was my religious involvement that tremendously helped that. The other thing about being involved in a religious community, many of them, is this sense of gratitude. And gratitude has been shown in study after study after study, like some of these other things, to have a very positive impact on your mental health, on your well-being, on your hopefulness. And when religion community, religious persuasions emphasize this idea of being something greater than you, and even the potential after you die for some of the religions that there's going to be something bigger and better waiting for you, leads to more hopefulness. There's something bigger than yourself, and that idea that I keep kind of talking about has a profound impact on our mindset and how we think about negative events that happen around us. So rather than getting stuck in the negativity, wallowing in self-pity, this idea of hopefulness and just this idea that there is something, someone watching out for us and that we can conquer anything gives you that push forward. There are time and time again, story after story after story about people who, religious people, persecuted, who survived unspeakable horrors and relay that it was their faith in God, their faith in something bigger than them, their faith in something beyond their circumstances that got them through. There is a potential dark side to religion, and that is, you see it sometimes in cults, you see it sometimes in some big major religions, and that is the impact of guilt and laying the guilt trip on people, making them feel guilty. And when people begin to wear that guilt, that negative emotion has a detrimental impact on your, not only your mental well-being, but your physical well-being. When you're holding on to negative emotions, or if the religion is trying, maybe the positive side, they're trying to use guilt to get you to go in the right direction. But what happens when people wear that guilt, when they wear the negative emotion of shame, it has a deeply harmful impact on their physical and mental well-being. Now, I don't, without, again, don't want to like insult people from different religions, but there have been some major religions where this guilt factor is a significant factor in the upbringing. I know a number of people who belong to significant churches that grew up guilty. The guilt trip was laid on them from the time they started going to church. They were turned away from the church because the message was constantly this idea that they can't do anything right, that they are wearing all this sin, that it's who they are, and they were missing the message of hope and redemption and turning away from it, and were left with a message that they're in it and they're wallowing in it, and there isn't, we're all bad. Humans are inherently bad, sinful, and that message is what resonated and stuck with them, and it created a lot of stress, anxiety, and mental health and physical health issues. I want to kind of share a story that will kind of sum up this idea that the message and how it's being received is really what matters with this religious thing. Getting aside, stand away from the truth of one religion over another. If the message as it's being received is focusing on the negative emotions, trying to use the negativity to move you in a positive direction with your behavior, that has a much greater potential for doing emotional, mental harm than good. A lot of cults are this way. The story I'm relating was one of my former students, and at the time I'm running a behavioral program, a day treatment one. So the kids who are in my program have some serious behavioral and emotional problems. And this kid, quite dramatically, began to turn his behavior around. It was dramatic enough that we weren't looking at us and going, wow, what great things did we do? And it turned out that he had started going to a church, a Christian church that had a very strong conservative biblical message. And towards the end of the school year, he invited my wife and I to come, and he was getting a Bible given to him because he graduated from some class or something. So of course we went. And again, my wife and I were religious people. We attended a relatively conservative biblical church, and we weren't really prepared for the sermon that was taught at this. It was an old school fire and brimstone, put you in the place, we thought, very harsh, negative kind of attack on people, teenagers in particular. And we left feeling uncomfortable, like didn't really like that. That sort of environment I believe, has a potential to overshadow what's supposed to be good about the message, which is love, forgiveness, hopefulness. So the balancing those messages out is incredibly important for an effective religious message. And I think churches and pastors and all need to be very conscientious and careful about the use of that, of the stick and the carrot. And that's just my 2 cents on how and what to look for in some of these religions and cults and things of that sort. So for all you parents out there and all, and whatever your religious history is and background is, I would really encourage you. In fact, this is one of the trainings I do, is to have people investigate their truth claims, their worldview. What do they really believe? And do they really believe that what they believe is really real? By exploring all the different kind of religious teachings around 4 fundamental questions. And I would encourage people to do that, to really kind of look at that, because your own congruency in your belief is really important. And then making sure that you're involved within your religious group or organization, that positive message isn't overshadowed and dominated by the negative message. And that would just be my words of advice, and for all you parents out there as you look into your faith stand. Once again, we come to another end of another video, and this one could be a little more challenging because you're dealing with a very personal subject matter when we're talking about faith and all. I would hope I did that respectfully and encourage you all to delve into that subject more, because it is important for teenage mental health. As always, I encourage you to subscribe to our channel. In particular, you might want to be checking out the video, Is a Teenage Curfews Good for Mental Health? So check that video out today.